So you just got done setting up your new home theater, or maybe you've done some tweaks to your current setup, and now you want to play something on it that will really stress your system out and put it through its paces to make sure that it sounds the best that it can. But what specific scenes or movies sound good and have awesome sounding audio in them? In this video, I'll share with you my 10 go-to discs that I always grab whenever I demo a home theater. Now this video will be focusing on the audio side of things. We won't be really talking about the video. Not that any of the discs I'm about to talk about have bad video or anything like that. I wanted to keep things simple and just talk about audio because I think when most people are looking for demo discs, most of the time they're looking for a good audio demo disc that really stresses their system out and really has some awesome sounding scenes in them. Now I will have a few honorable mentions at the end of the video, so be sure to stick around for that. So without further ado, let's dive into this and start in alphabetical order with my first pick. So my first pick is The Conjuring 2. Now there's a scene in particular where the police are called in and are interviewing and talking to the mom and I think her neighbor in the kitchen about what's going on in the house and stuff, and they don't believe her, and then all of a sudden they hear something above on the second floor. And what's really cool about this in Dolby Atmos is you actually hear movement above you as if there's a second floor. Now, we live in a single story home right now, and it's really kind of intense and immersive because it sounds like something is either on the second floor, which we don't have, or in the attic or on the roof. And the bass does hit pretty hard when it needs to. There's a scene near the end where a lot of stuff is going on and things are flying around the room overhead, and it just really takes control of that entire space. And honestly, I feel like this movie in particular is often overlooked in terms of its sound mix because I think it's really well done. So if you're into this kind of thing, the horror movie genre, paranormal stuff, definitely check it out. I think you can get these movies for pretty cheap. Now my second pick is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Now I really dig the Atmos track on this disc. Be aware though that if you own it or are thinking of picking it up, it does default to the DTS HD Master Audio track. You have to go in and select the Dolby Atmos track if you want that. Again, this is more of a balanced approach to bass and everything. There are definitely some moments where the bass can be more prominent in the mix, but for the most part, it's pretty light on that. There's a scene near the end of the movie that I really enjoy that kind of takes full use of the Atmos soundstage with a lot of things going around you in your room and overhead. There's a specific part where they cast this protection spell. It's like a bubble that goes over you and you actually hear it go from like the front left all the way overhead to the rear. So it's really cool to hear that just kind of envelop you as it happens on screen. And again, just a really balanced sounding mix with some nice LFE here and there, but nothing that will really shake your couch or rock the walls. It's definitely a worthy addition if you want a good demo disc. All right, another pick that I can't seem to find my disc for is Godzilla King of the Monsters. Now, this one, right from the get-go in the opening credits, you hear Godzilla stomp through the credits. Sounds like he's gonna break something in your house or just come crashing through the roof. This movie is one tour de force of audio right from the beginning. There's also a scene about midway through the movie where they go to detonate some charges to break some ice apart to let a monster out, but there's just so much going on. You can hear the ice cracking from overhead coming down. That scene is just filled with Atmos effects left and right. Now my next pick is It Chapter 2, and this has a really active Dolby Atmos mix for the majority of the movie. I mean, right from the opening credits where there's a song that's being sung, you kind of hear it go all throughout the room, overhead and everything, and it's a great test for making sure that your speakers are timbre matched and also level matched because you want the voices to sound the same as they go across and the same levels. So great test there. There is a scene near the end of the movie, spoiler territory here, where the Losers Club is fighting Pennywise in his lair or where he lives, and he has Mike cornered, and then Richie throws a rock at him to distract him from eating Mike or killing Mike or whatever. What happens after that is one of the best bass scenes I've ever seen in a horror movie. It will literally shake your couch, shake your walls if you have a capable enough system. It's something that I've played over and over again, probably to the annoyance of my wife, which is, now that I think about it, it's probably most of the discs in here. Whenever I test a subwoofer or I make an adjustment, this is probably the first disc I grab, especially if I'm making adjustments to the subwoofers in my system. So definitely a great disc to have just for that scene. If you're into this kind of movie too, it's a great movie. great couple of movies actually, so definitely check it out. Now the next disc doesn't really need any introduction. Mad Max Fury Road, one of the most aggressive Dolby Atmos discs I've ever heard in my life. It's pretty much firing on all cylinders from start to finish. I mean, it's gonna give your whole system a workout for pretty much the entire movie. I think my favorite scene though out of the whole movie is the lightning storm and the sandstorm scene. I mean, just so much is going on around you. The Dolby Atmos stuff is just really, really prominent in that scene. You have things flying around you this way, overhead. The bass will knock you out of your seat if you're not careful. And again, this is another old one. It's probably fairly cheap. I don't really know. I haven't checked the prices on this one in particular, but definitely check it out and add it to your collection if that's your kind of thing. Next up, we have Power Rangers on 4K UHD. Now this movie gets a lot of crap, rightfully so, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about good sounding audio, and this has it in spades. The opening alone is really awesome, and it sets the stage perfectly for the rest of the movie in terms of the audio performance and what you can expect. It's really, really aggressive. There are moments that there's not much going on, but when the action kicks in, you're met with just deep, palpable, tactile bass that will really kind of energize your room. Not kind of, it does energize your room. There's a scene where they detonate this charge just before the kids kind of all become Power Rangers near this cave. And it scared me the first time I saw it. Like, it literally felt like I was getting hit by something. It was awesome. I really don't have words to describe that. Definitely check it out. Again, the movie's not that great, but the audio in it is excellent. Next up, we have Ready Player One, and the Dolby Atmos track on this is just out of this world. This is like Fantastic Beasts in that you have to go in and select Dolby Atmos as it defaults to the DTS HD Master Audio track. But once you do that, you're good to go. The opening race scene alone is worth the price of admission. Even if you're not a fan of this movie, this is demo worthy audio through and through. I've used that scene over and over and over again. It's the first disc I always grab, much to the disappointment of my wife, because she has heard that scene through the walls of our house many, many times, and she's sick of it by now. I definitely recommend adding this to your collection if you don't have it already. Now, next up, we have Saving Private Ryan on 4K UHD. This movie is actually the movie that made me want to upgrade my surround sound back when it came out on DVD in like 1999. I had the DTS DVD, and it pushed the limits of my home theater in a box system that I had at the time. It had like an 8-inch woofer that I would constantly bottom out playing it. I'm surprised I didn't blow it now that I think about it. Now the Dolby Atmos mix on the 4K UHD is a nice upgrade over the Blu-ray track. You do have more things flying overhead, especially in the high action sequences like the opening D-Day scene and the ending scene where they battle the tank and all the soldiers and stuff. It doesn't have the lowest LFE, I would say, but the tank at the end will push your subwoofer to the limit if you're not careful, so be careful with that. But again, if you're into this type of movie, it's definitely something to add to your collection. Next up, we have Tron Legacy, and just like Mad Max Fury Road, this is like one long demo. It doesn't have a Dolby Atmos track. I would actually like to see a 4K UHD version of this movie with a Dolby Atmos mix, but the DTS HD Master Audio 7.1 track does sound really nice upmixed using the DTS Neural X upmixer. You get some nice discrete effects coming from overhead and the bass. There's many, many scenes in here that will stress your subwoofer and your surrounds and everything. The recognizer scene near the beginning where Sam goes into the grid for the first time, there's that whole sequence that just really sounds awesome, and I love the way the recognizer sounds when it comes in, and you can really feel the energy within the room pick up when that thing lands. Like, it's super, super cool. Then, you have Disc Wars and just a ton of other stuff. Definitely worthy of an add to your collection if you are looking for really nice bass material. Now, the final movie here is War of the Worlds. Now, this doesn't really need any introduction here. I don't have the 4K UHD version of this movie. There is one out there. I'm just going off of this disc. I will upgrade to that eventually, but holy cow, the bass on this movie in particular is insane. The pod emergent scene is something I've been using since the movie came out to test out subwoofers. It is so intense during that scene that it can bottom out even the best subwoofers if you're not careful. It does have a tendency to move things around and rattle things, so it's also a good test for that to see if you have anything in the room that rattles, but definitely check it out just for the pod emergence scene. All right, moving on to some honorable mentions, and in no particular order, we have Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I'm a big fan of Edgar Wright's work. He's the director of this movie, did things like Baby Driver, Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead. Excellent soundtrack on this. The music sounds fantastic in it. The fight scenes are really well choreographed and really well done in terms of sound. A lot of times you feel the punches in this movie. There's my favorite scene is when Scott is fighting one of Ramona's evil exes, played by Chris Evans, Captain America, and that whole fight scene is just filled with awesome Atmos effects. On this disc, it's the Blu-ray is just, I believe, 7.1 or 5.1, but the LFE on that is awesome as well, so definitely check that out. Moving on to an oldie but a goodie, Final Destination 2. I wouldn't actually call this a goodie, but the audio is still really good on this one. The opening freeway crash sequence still holds up really well in terms of audio. It's just a really nice sounding mix and has some nice LFE, nice surround effects, and it upmixes really well using the DTS Neural X upmixer. Not so much with the DSU or Dolby Surround upmixer, so use the DTS upmixer on that, or switch back and forth and choose the one that sounds best to you. Now, the last honorable mention is Transformers Dark of the Moon. I almost said Dark Side of the Moon, and I know I have the 5 back here, but it's the third movie in the whole Transformers franchise, and the Dolby Atmos track on the 4K UHD is definitely a step up from the standard Blu-ray track, which I think was just a 7.1 track. A lot of overhead action going on there with Dolby Atmos, and the LFE, I mean, it's a Transformers movie, it's Michael Bay. The opening scene where they're in Chernobyl is still probably one of my favorite sounding scenes out of all the Transformers movies, and the freeway scene about midway through the movie as well. So definitely check that out if you haven't. Might be nice to add it to your collection if the price is right. I wouldn't really go out of my way unless you really love the movie. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments below if you use any of these movie scenes before as demos of your own for your own audio system or somebody else's. I really want to know about it. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.